Welcome back to AFTV, and it's a tactical insight looking ahead to Real Madrid. What are Arsenal going to do, not just when it comes tactically in this game, but also personnel-wise? That's something I really want to explore in this video. Maybe some of Real Madrid's weaknesses that we can exploit, what we're going to do in attack, but crucially what we're going to do in defence, especially with Gabriel missing. Arsenal might have to get a little bit creative and look at certain solutions, maybe mix up the tactics a little bit. Now, we do welcome Nick to the show. Nick J. Francis is here with us. I'm just going to clap for you, mate, because it's absolutely brilliant to see you. Before I ask how you are, let me just let everyone know that Graham's really sorry he couldn't be here. He's just got some stuff going on, but he will obviously be back as soon as he can be, breaking down all things Arsenal. But Nick, it's not your first time on Tactical Insight.
Nope.
It's great to have you back again. How are you?
Good, mate. Good to be here. Really excited about this game.
Yeah.
I think I'm probably one of the more optimistic Arsenal fans about this game, to be honest. So, yeah, it should be good.
And in terms of following Real Madrid and all that, is that part of why you're maybe more optimistic? I mean, I'm going to hold my hands up. I don't watch loads of La Liga. A lot of this, I did have to just go and research and actually just sort of pick up, well, I know these players and I know Real Madrid roughly and Ancelotti, but the nuances and the details, is there maybe some stuff in there that maybe from my research is also giving me a bit more hope? Is that kind of what you're thinking?
Yeah, potentially. I think also it's how much we're getting to that, the buzzword of this season since Calafiori coming, the aura. Right. We're getting to that aura stage of the Champions League where lots of people feel defeated because they go, mate, it's Real Madrid. Once you get to Real Madrid quarterfinals, this is what their season's about. Big pressure on Ancelotti as well. There's a feeling that they're probably not going to win the league, and even if they do, there's talk that he gets sacked if he doesn't win the Champions League. So it's all or nothing for him. Kind of all or nothing for Arteta as well, but maybe not under the same amount of pressure as Ancelotti with an Arsenal. But
certainly for our season, it's all or nothing.
Exactly that. Do you know what I mean? So we're in a similar place, but I think that the aura and the fear factor around Real Madrid is stopping people from looking at the game objectively, which is what I'm hoping that we can do on the show.
Absolutely, let's try to do it. What we're going to normally do, I'm going to show you the tactical pad people now, but what you'll see is a blank pitch. Normally I'd be coming with the 11s ready to go, but I actually think what will be interesting about this, because of especially on the defensive side, there's so many questions around both these sides. We're going to build the 11s we expect to see, and both have had to be creative, whether it be a number 6 playing right back. That's actually been true of both teams at some points this season. Defensive combinations that they won't be quite as used to. Then there's a really interesting midfield dynamic to talk about. So let's start with Arsenal building the 11 we expect to see. And look, I won't waste your time. We expect David Raya to be playing some football. Let me just get your take very quickly on these links to Johan Garcia, though. What do you think that's all about? Just getting a really competitive number 2 in, or?
I would imagine it's that. I've seen some frustration from Arsenal fans, and I get the frustration. They feel like the focus should be elsewhere on the pitch, but there is we know that Arteta cares a lot about some of the intangibles of football, the psychological side of football, and he obviously believes that they need someone there to keep pushing Raya to be better and to be better, and ultimately someone that if anything does happen, we've got someone that's credible that can step in. We've seen what it means when we've had backup goalkeepers step in recent years. It's not been great. I think it does make sense from a squad building perspective, but I think until we're winning trophies, they're constantly going to be frustrated about these types of links, right? Yeah,
totally agree. Guys, just going to pause there for a sec. I think it might have disconnected the NDI, so I'm just going to Yeah, there we go. Tell me if this comes through.
You just move something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that working?
Yeah, move the player. Okay, yeah, okay, cool.
We're back in. Cool. All right, I'll pick up from there.
Pick up from there and I'll start on you.
All right, cool. Okay, let's start building this back 4 then. And it's so frustrating because Gabriel's looking like he's going to miss both. Ben White, we don't really know the situation with him. He's been so in and out, and we know he had this injury that he basically played through, then he finally had surgery, but he couldn't make it for Fulham. During Timber, kind of feels like every sort of 10 games he comes off with a knock, and then I'm like, we can't lose him. But to be fair, he's played way more football than I ever expected him to. Yeah. Let's build the 11 we think we're going to see against Real Madrid, but also want to know what you want to see. In fact, let's start with that, what you want to see first. Assuming Timber and White do make the squad, what would you do?
The first thing for me is Jury and Timber at right back. I think, we're going to be looking at defending from a zonal kind of perspective more than anything else. We're going to get into details of how Real Madrid interlink a lot with their attackers, but I think the most important thing is people that understand their positioning. It's not going to be man marking. It's not going to work against Real Madrid. So it's going to be, Ben White doesn't have the best track record against people that are quick, skillful. We've seen it against Rashford. We've seen it with the likes of Doku, these types of players. I think Ben White coming back from injury and not fully sharp against Vinicius Jr. I think is a real nightmare.
Yeah.
So I think for me, the mainstay has to be Jurriën Timber at right back. That's got to be what we see. Of course, Saliba in the centre back position as well. And then again, it's about who Arteta feels that understands that centre-back position and that zonal position the most between Ben White and Kiwior. Yeah. And I think we're probably leaning towards Ben White. I think we probably take a 80% fit Ben White over a 100% fit Jakub Kiwior at this point.
I think you've taken the words from my preview ahead of Everton completely out of my mouth. Yeah. And for what it's worth, at the time of recording this, the preview's not out, so Nick hasn't even seen that. I would take a slightly undercooked Ben White. Yeah. Now, I'm talking slightly undercooked. Yes. If he hasn't played a minute of football and he's absolutely not ready to go, obviously not. Okay, yeah. But if it's a case of you know what, he was looking great in training, he just missed out on Fulham, but actually he's okay, then I would go for Ben White. I think physically he's got more what we're going to need against their best.
Not just the physical side of things, I think that the confidence as well. If you're William Saliba, you've got Timber on one side, you look to your left, you start to overthink when you've got Kiwior next to you because we've seen him make mistakes. Yeah. I think actually at this point you feel way more secure looking over to your left back and seeing Miles Lewis-Skelly than you do than Kiwior. And I think the same with Ben White as well.
Totally agree. Lewis-Skelly at left back, we assume. Yeah. Let's pause there on the defence. We're going to come back to it because I want to talk about the balance and how this looks in build-up and stuff. Let's build the rest of our midfield, which I assume is going to be Rice, Partey, Odegaard.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting as well because we've seen Arteta drop Partey into right back at times. He sort of not trusts him, but he thinks he can do a job there. And I do think at times whoever sits in that 6 may have to drop in and be an extra centre back as well. I personally feel a little bit more secure with Rice doing that job, but from a defensive perspective, but I feel more comfortable with Partey at 6 when we're dominating the ball. Yeah. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see how that midfield actually sets up.
Totally agree. Now, what would your front three be? Does Mourinho keep his place up front?
He does, actually, for me. I know it's controversial. I know that people feel
he's won me over now, to be honest.
I think I said in the notes I sent to you, for me, it's what I saw at Fulham, in the Fulham game. Now, obviously, Real Madrid are not Fulham, but there was a moment when Rice plays the ball to Martinelli, and Martinelli looks up and starts to drive directly at the defence, which is what we're going to have to do against what's probably going to be some sort of makeshift Real Madrid defence. There's a moment where Mourinho is kind of almost between the fullback and the centre back, and a normal striker would run straight through and wait for the ball to come and go and attack it. Mourinho doesn't. He knows what Martinelli wants to do. He actually drifts wide. Yeah, sure. He allows Martinelli to go forwards. He receives the ball and then puts that ball cut in straight back across the box. Yeah. It's not too dissimilar to what Real Madrid do with their patterns of play. Yeah, okay. And I think that plus that's one of the things that won me over is his ability to start drifting wide and pick up open spaces. And he knows he's not a number 9. He knows that in himself. But he just wants to be effective in different parts of the pitch. And I think that type of flexibility is what we're going to need from a player, and I think Mourinho can definitely do that job.
To be fair, he's been as efficient as any number 9 I've seen in an Arsenal shirt for a while. I mean, whenever he does get a side to goal, he seems to both make good connection, ask question of the keeper at least, more often than he's scoring. So credit to him for that. And then, I mean, Saka, I assume you'd give him the start with Martinelli on the right.
Yeah, I think
on the left.
I think it's got to be. I do like Ethan Nwaneri. It would be good to see him have a part to play in this game. Trossard, can be dangerous as well. We know statistically he's much better off the bench than when he starts. But I think
in big games, Trossard, he does
big in big games as well. Yeah. And I think Saka in big games as well. We saw him against. I know that they've got Mendy injured, but we've seen him against Alphonso Davies in recent Champions League campaigns. And Nuno Mendes from PSG is quoted in an interview saying that Saka was his toughest opponent. Wow. And he said, they said who?
Yeah, actually, I remember that quote.
Yeah. So if he can deal with Alphonso Davies and Nuno Mendes, he should be able to deal with what would have been Ferland Mendy, but probably is going to be Garcia, as we'll get into when we do the Real Madrid team.
Absolutely. Now, just on this, in terms of the shape, we know that Arsenal kind of mix up their build-up in a lot of ways, but what kind of concerns me, and to be fair, we know Odegaard will try getting these spaces, but he'll drop off. Yep. And we also know that Lewis-Skelly sometimes can advance here, or sometimes he can just tuck in, and Declan Rice can be the one bombing forward. To be fair, we've even seen Lewis-Skelly drop in between the centre-backs quite a lot to pick up the ball. But my concern is the lack of it's not just a left footer, but someone who's really kind of comfortable to combine in that particular area of the pitch. It's not just about being left footed. I think there's a comfort about understanding the runs that a Martinelli or Trossard can make him beyond. And actually Kivior does get that. Kivior does release that ball over the top quite well. And on the ball is actually quite good from build-up.
Yeah.
But defensively, that Timber, Saliba, White trio, I feel much more comfortable with.
Yeah.
Do you see the dynamics changing at all? Because sometimes Arteta will just go, it's disconnected again, mate. I don't know why he keeps doing that. You just have to pick up from what I was saying. Maybe add a picture to help. Arteta will sometimes just go and split the centre backs. I remember last season when we had Kivior at left back, he did play with almost more of it was kind of like a 4-2-4, kind of more like this. And I just wonder what you think Arsenal will do if they're going to have a lack of a left centre back and actually not opt for Kivior because there's a better defender. I mean, I even wonder whether it's going to be more White and Saliba like this. But what do you expect?
It's going to be difficult. A lot of this is I think he's going to set them up with, as Arteta tends to do, is say we've got one shape when we're in possession and a different shape out of possession.
Of course, yeah.
And a lot of it is going to be about how Real Madrid set up. So the players will have 2 or 3 different ideas in their heads, because one of the things they're very good at is their wide men go very wide, and then their central midfielders go and join the attack as well. So not too dissimilar to what we do, but they have better one-on-one players, to be fair. I think that setup is pretty much what we're going to see. I think that we'll see Rice probably more advancing and getting goals. I think that one of the ways that we're going to get goals, or one of the ways we're going to challenge the goalkeeper for us anyway, is getting shots off from distance. And I think Rice is probably the bet at this moment in time of our midfield three. If somebody's going to have a shot on target from distance, Rice tends to have the power and the precision to go and do that. Partey has all the power, not quite the precision. Ødegaard probably more the precision, not quite the power.
And also I feel like he glides into that role a little bit more. Partey being a 6 is, he can get in those areas. Ødegaard normally sits in those areas. Rice is the one running onto it.
It's one of the worries that I have. I think that people worry a lot about Real Madrid's front three. You know, they're the big names in the team, but for me it's the midfield battle and the duels that I'm particularly concerned about. They have slightly less technicians. You know, in the past we've seen them have Ozil, Cruz. They've still got Modric, but he's kind of an understudy now. But they've done away with those elite technicians, and they've got players that while still very technical, like Jude Bellingham and Tchouaméni and Valverde. They're elite athletes, and so I don't see us being able to physically, if we put Partey, Ødegaard up against any two of that three, I don't see us being able to win quite so many of those duels.
That's interesting, because I got some data around that we'll go through later, but that is a really interesting kind of observation, because they do have, for sure, more athletes than perhaps Real Madrid teams of old. I mean, this Arsenal setup is interesting, but for what it's worth, I think, hoping that Timber, White, everyone else is okay, I think this is sort of the 11 we're going to see. Just putting Arsenal players back into their positions, and we'll build the Real Madrid side very quickly. What are you expecting to see? Courtois in goal, I imagine. Let's make sure we can get their name on the screen there too. Now the back four is interesting. You think Garcia left back because we're not expecting to see
Mendy. I think probably Garcia and Vasquez, it's looking like as full-backs. In terms of the centre-backs, that's a little bit more of a question.
Well, the options are Tchouaméni can play there. He's played there before. We've obviously got Asensio, who I've not added in my list, so let's just quickly add his name now. You can all see this on screen. Asensio, what is he, number 35, I think he is?
I have no idea what his number is.
There we go.
Me.
I think I might got that right. But look, they could do something like, I think it would be Asensio with probably Alaba. Don't tell me I haven't got Alaba's name either. I haven't even written Alaba's name. There we go. So we're just adding players. I think he's number 4. That's the back four I'm personally expecting to see for Real Madrid. What are you expecting?
Probably the same, but I think potentially Rudiger coming back from injury versus Alaba.
Oh, so with Rudiger, at the time of recording, we don't know if he's got a UEFA ban or not.
Okay.
So that's the big thing. So if he does have a ban, because I think of a gesture made in the Atletico Madrid post-match celebrations, you know, if he's got a ban, then I expect it to be, these 4. But you're right. I mean, difficult to tell. Let's build the midfield then, because the interesting one is Valverde, who, what a player, and he has been playing at right back quite a bit, but he just feels crucial to Real Madrid.
He's so good. He's actually so good. He's a player that I was quite late onto him, to be honest with you. I didn't rate him for a long time. A lot of my mates, I think it was the Liverpool Champions League final when he's driven the ball across the back post. But I was still kind of doubting him up to that point, and I just felt that he had a bit of a stigma around him, similar to like a Conor Gallagher, where he was just an engine. He ran about, got stuck in, but he is very technical. Like we said before, he's very athletic, but he's just such a great utility player. And with the way that Carlo Ancelotti has them playing, he will start centre mid, but don't be surprised to see him running down the wing with the ball, putting crosses into the box and doing a little bit of everything from an attacking and kind of from a defensive perspective as well.
I think he's class, and don't let him get a shot outside the box. That's one thing I'd say to Arsenal. Building the rest is difficult. You've got Tchouaméni, you've got Camavinga, you've got Bellingham, you've got Modric. What do you think they're going to do? Ceballos, I think, even started at the Etihad. What do you think we're going to see from the rest of the midfield?
It would definitely be Valverde and Bellingham, I think. I think the question mark is the last one. If Tchouaméni's in the defence, then obviously he's not going to play in the midfield. Do we go Camavinga there? Camavinga's played at left back at times. Do we go with the experience of Modric? I don't know. Again, Modric is pushing on, but we don't have the athletes to really challenge. Ødegaard does a lot of pressing, but he's not really going to go and win duels that much, and he's relatively easy to sort of pass around. I think Rice is going to be doing the running for two as he's been doing all season. So definitely Valverde and Bellingham, but I'm not sure about the third one. That's the question mark for me.
I think it'll be Tchouaméni, personally. I think they'll... Brilliant, it's cut out again. Well, I don't know why it keeps doing this. Cut out again, Joe. We'll just keep doing your best on the edit. I'm so sorry. I think Tchouaméni will be the guy who gets the nod. I mean, that means Camavinga, Modric, players like that could come in later. Yeah. But I just think he's the... I don't know. I think... I'm no expert on Madrid, but what a player. I would just be getting him in there. And that's such a balanced midfield. Yeah. There's every chance Modric starts to kind of give a little bit of balance. Listen, I'm not for 1 second saying Bellingham's not technical, unbelievably technical. They all are. You have to play for Real Madrid. But maybe that experience of... that creativity, all of it kind of blended together. But one thing about Arsenal is that I know what you mean about it being a big battle against them physically. I think they'll see us as a big battle physically in midfield. And again, I've got some data on that later, but I think that might be in their mind as well. Building the rest of the 11, Mbappe, Vinicius, and you can tell I'm so well prepped with this because I haven't even written Rodrigo's name. I don't know what I was doing. This is the most half-cooked squad you've ever seen, but number 11 Rodrigo, and we'll get him in on the right, and this is a three that just move all over the place as well.
And again, you've got Brahim Diaz that can come off the bench as well. He's popped up with goals this season. But the thing with their front three is that it's so balanced. In the Champions League, I think they're 7, 7 and 5 for goals. So they're all chipping in sort of equally. So you're not really sure. For us, sort of, I guess, if you're Real Madrid and you're setting up against Arsenal, you go, right, let's shut down Saka, let's try and shut down maybe Rice, and then we should be okay. With them, there's no two players that we go, right, if we take Mbappe out of the game, well, that doesn't necessarily win us the game. Yeah,
totally agree. Let's talk about some data on Real Madrid's potential defensive weaknesses. Now, I know what you're all screaming through the screen, but hold on, they've had loads of injuries, we know, and we've addressed that a little bit, and we'll go into that in more detail. But I want to show you this potential, and this is a little bit hoping, but is there any sign of weakness in Real Madrid's defending? They have lost 4 games in La Liga, although that is the joint first best. I mean, no one's lost more than 4, but there are 3 teams that have lost 4 games, and 4 is still quite a bit, I think, by this stage of the season. Well, I don't know, April, 4 games.
We've lost 3.
Yeah, exactly.
We've got more draws, but...
Yeah, listen, who am I to... I'm not being majorly critical, but anyway. They've conceded 29 goals. That's the 5th most in the league, or 5th, should I say, the 5th best record in the league. 10 clean sheets put them 3rd in their league rank. Their expected goals against at 31.0 ranks them 5th too. Their goalkeepers made 64 saves. That's the 6th most in the league, and 153 tackles in the middle third is the lowest amount of tackles in the middle third. And that was the stat I was kind of alluding to earlier, that there's no question the talent and quality of their players, especially in midfield, but it is an area that Arsenal could try and dominate from. That Rice, Partey, even when we have had Jorginho and Ødegaard, tactically we're so well set up that we are able to physically sometimes overrun the midfield. Now, for comparison, Man City also ranked last for tackles in the middle third in the Premier League. Arsenal ranked 12th and Liverpool ranked 9th. So it's not that it's something you have to be good at to be seen as one of the best teams. It's purely an observation, but it's an area of the pitch that gives you an idea. Maybe that's not where they're going to engage the most, as much as they've got the physical profiles to do so.
Yeah, but also I think, with the better teams, we typically dominate the ball, so we don't have to make as many tackles. So it's probably going to be
them too as well.
It's probably going to be a team that is, if I had to predict a Premier League team, it's probably a team that's like an Aston Villa or a Nottingham Forest, maybe a Bournemouth, who have the most tackles, people that are good on that offensive transition, but maybe not quite one of the top teams, But I think, the stats you read out are compelling, but their Champions League performance has been well off it. So their league performance has been pretty good. Unfortunately, Barcelona's has been better. But in the league, in the Champions League, they've conceded 17 in 12 games.
Exactly my point, man.
We've conceded 6 in 10 games.
Yeah.
And they did lose 3-1 to Milan at the Bernabeu. Obviously, this first leg is going to be at the Emirates.
Yeah.
They lost 3-1 at the Bernabeu, and that was with a fully fit team. That's Rudiger, that's Militao, that's the fullbacks, that's everybody. And I think goals conceded or shots conceded per match, Arsenal are the joint second best in the whole Champions League campaign, 0.6.
Was that with Inter Milan, maybe?
With us and Liverpool, 0.6. Inter Milan are number 1. I think it's like 0.4 or something like that. Yeah. Real Madrid, they concede 1.4 XG per game, and they're down in 16th. Yeah. So they just in the Champions League. So they ship a lot of chances, and so I that's where I'm picking up that confidence.
That's fascinating, because I was reading those league numbers thinking it suggests that there's maybe something you get at a team that's sitting second but ranking 5th, 6th, 3rd for a lot of the defensive numbers. I was thinking that's great. I mean, maybe they've got, for all the attack they've got, there's a defence you can get at. The Champions League numbers that you've brought are kind of even more convincing that, Arsenal, if you can click, which is a big if, you can actually maybe hurt them. Another reason is, as we've alluded to lots, these defensive injuries. We've got them here on screen. I mean, Eder Militao from game week 14 has been out for the whole season. David Alaba missed a lot of football, has only, from what I can see here, started and played a full amount in about 3 games. And you've got loads of others there, the likes of Danny Carvajal missing. Rudiger's only kind of just making a return. Ferland Mendy missed recent games. I mean, you can see how depleted they've been in defence. And it's not just about getting the players back, it's also getting a rhythm and understanding. Arsenal, and the thing is, I keep saying we are doing it with Marino up front, we are doing it with Saka at best having had 1 or 2 games back, and we're doing it with Martinelli, who's been so hit and miss for the last, and that's actually put it nicely that he's been hit and miss over the last sort of 2 seasons. But there's a chance that maybe they are just tactically a bit off it, and defensively there's something you can get at there. As much as they may try hurt us, there is something there.
Well, the simple fact is we have to just try and outgun them. We'll play somewhat conservatively, and again, some people criticise.
I think so
too.
That. Actually, I think we will be quite compact.
We will be compact, and that's fine. But the simple fact is, we have to just try to outscore them. And it sounds really silly. This is tournament football. This isn't league football. A 0-0 does nothing for us. If we concede a goal, we have to score 2. The opportunity is there. We have lots of injuries in our attacking flank, and that's damaged our league campaign. They have the same amount of injuries in their defensive flank. We have a better defence than they do, point blank period. They have a better attack than we do. That's true. But there's nothing saying that if we maybe get out of there, at home, they struggle. I think their lowest XG in the whole season is against Osasuna. And that was at Osasuna's ground, and it was 1.04 for the whole game, which is very low for a team like Real Madrid, where they dominate the ball. They really struggle to break down low blocks. For all the athleticism that they have, for all the skill that they have, if there's space, they will kill you. With the rotations and the patterns and the players out wide, not to mention the actual one-on-one ability to be able to successfully take people on. They will kill you in space. But if there isn't space, and you restrict to compact that space, you can hurt them. The difficulty that we have is we haven't been good on offensive transitions.
No, we're not a transition
team. I could see us grinding out corners. Again, they don't have their big centre-backs for the most part. They're not great from set pieces. We scored 11 goals from corners. I'm not sure how many they've scored, but it's definitely not 11. And counter-attacking on those corners, the pace of Martinelli going, but can we finish? Can we put the ball in the net? That's the question.
Yeah, big questions. And actually, you allude on to something really interesting there. I've got here Real Madrid's possession in big games away from home. It's an interesting graphic because a lot of it covers this season, but obviously we got last season against Dortmund and Man City away as well there, and the Dortmund in the final, and Liverpool going all the way back to 21-22. And okay, yes, there are certain games at Atalanta and Dortmund where they did have more possession. I'm not saying this is a side that always concede possession, but largely they are happy in big games. We've got Sociedad away the other day in the Copa del Rey. We've got Atletico, Man City. We've got Liverpool away. We've got Atletico again in the league instead of the Champions League. There's quite a lot there that points towards them being a side that are happy to go, you can have it. And 100%. They recognise their strengths and go, it doesn't matter that we're Real Madrid with the badge and the crown on it and all that. We're happy to go, Mbappe, Vinicius and Rodrigo will kill you guys when you step forward. And that's a big reason why I want Ben White in that team, not Kivior.
100%.
But I also think, while it's something to be so wary of because of their threats, and I do think Arsenal will do a bit of low block defending, in fact they will do quite a bit of it, when we can get on the ball, because Real Madrid will let us have it, there's that really fine line between all out having a go and just controlling the game, move it side to side, see if a moment of magic can come. But don't be scared to play, because they 100%. Will allow you to a little bit, and the defensive numbers suggest you can do something.
Yeah, and to drive home that point even further, in their last 10 games, I think they averaged 61.5% possession. So some of the stats you got there of having less possession, 48%, 40% possession in big games, like you say, that's not how they play week in, week out. Week in, week out in the league, they just go and thrash teams. Simple as that. We've got the best free attackers in the league. We're just going to smash you. But when it comes to these big games, they know how to win them. We've done something similar. I think for however many seasons we couldn't get a win against Manchester City in the league. When we did, we're going to sit in a low block. We're going to grind this game out. We're going to hit you on the counter and get a sloppy goal, and it is what it is. There you go. And then after that, we've gone and beat Man City again and again. And that's how you do it. And that's something that we can learn from Real Madrid and their experience.
Interesting. What do you think in a line is going to be Arsenal's general approach? Do you think we're going to be quite conservative, quite counter-attacking? Do you see us pressing high up the pitch, trying to force transitions, trying to bully them in midfield? What do you think will be Arteta's overall plan for this first leg?
I think playing a high line without Gabriel would be foolish. We've got Ben White.
And man-to-man pressing without Gabriel would be foolish.
100%. We've got Ben White, but he's probably not 100% fully fit. He's definitely not going to be 100% match fit, because he would have at best had one game to come back against Everton on the weekend. So for me, a low block, it's going to be one of those games. We're going to say, you guys have the ball. And they're going to say, no, you guys are at home, you have the ball. Neither of us want the ball. But I think for us to sit back in the low block, try and hit on the counter-attack, individual battles, especially our fullbacks, for all of the fear that we have of Vinicius, Mbappe, Rodrigo, our fullbacks in Miles Lewis-Skelly and Timber, one-on-one defending, are far stronger than their fullbacks in one-on-one defending. That's just a fact. Martinelli will kill Lucas Vazquez with his pace. He's still, one thing about Martinelli, he's still rapid. He's not the best controller of the ball, he's not the best finisher, but he's still rapid. Getting to the byline and getting balls across the box is going to be the way that we can get to them. And with whether it's Saka or Ethan Nwaneri, they both have the ability to, if you show them inside, they'll get a shot across. If they can get to the byline, they'll get a ball across the box. And once we get to the byline and drive a ball across the box, pretty much anything can happen after that.
Okay, well, let's see what Arsenal do. Everyone, I hope you've enjoyed this, and what we'll do, post the first leg of Real Madrid, we'll be able to have more of an analysis of what they did in that game and try and learn from it for the second leg. Let's hope that there's plenty to play for in the second leg. I think there could well be. And as we've got Nick, we're going to ask you a score prediction.
2-1 Arsenal.
Yeah, let's... At the time of recording, we haven't played Everton yet, so let's wait and see.
It's true, yeah.
Let me put it this way, if Timber and White are available, and we don't have any more kind of injury curse in this cursed season.
Based on the 11s that we've put on the show.
Yeah, basically, I think we might nick it. I delusionally think we might nick it at the Emirates, but long day at the Bernabeu.
100%.
I think that's going to be...
Every minute will feel like an hour at the Bernabeu.
I think that could be a rough one. But I actually think this first one at the Emirates, we're going to show something of what we're about, but who knows? Let's see. It's difficult previewing a bit too early in advance, but we wanted to get something out for you and we've been able to look at Real Madrid a little bit more as a whole from this season. Big thanks to Nick and his fantastic insight. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. What have we missed? And we can do that in the next Tactical Insight looking ahead to Real Madrid. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet, and we'll catch you all very soon.